There are dozens, hundreds even, of organizations that support newcomers arriving in Canada. There's a lot of information one needs when starting a life in a new country. However, we can also learn a lot from immigrants and newcomers. New ideas and perspectives we may have never thought of before. That's an essential component of the Islamic Social Services Association, providing social services to the Islamic and broader Manitoban community, and learning from the diversity of people we have in this province. Let's get into it.
My name is Mariam Rahimi. I work with Islamic Social Services Association, also known as ISA. It's a nonprofit, community-based charitable organization here in Winnipeg. So we run many different workshops, trainings, we do counseling that serves the Muslim community here in Winnipeg, but we also do some national work, international work as well, advocating for the Muslim community on a smaller scale and larger scale as well. So most of our work is for the Muslim community, but we are also working really hard to collaborate with other communities. We are very open to working with many different communities, and working to build relationships is very important to us.
Yeah, and I believe with the events of Gaza that are going on, you're probably incredibly busy and having a ton of conversations around that.
That's something, we are a social service agency, so our doors are always open. We are here to serve the community, so it doesn't matter what's your background, which community you come from, which faith. Our doors are always open, and we're always open for a conversation.
I think that's the important part about an organization. You do have your doors open and you're willing to have someone of any background come in and start those conversations. Because the second we're like, no, you can only be within this group, that's when we start to see issues within the community.
It's important for us to all do that, to build relationships. It's very important nowadays. We see a lot of hate. We see a lot of racism within Winnipeg, but also in wider society, which is why it's really important to have open conversations about things we don't understand, what we need to learn from each other. It's very important.
It's so eye-opening having the opportunity to connect with people of wide backgrounds. I know that's been an incredible benefit that I've had here at Multicultural, connecting with different organizations, different individuals of so many different backgrounds to help give me better perspective of the world around us, especially here in Canada. We're here to celebrate and engage in multiculturalism.
Myself, as a social worker, I could say in the years that I've had experience working in Winnipeg, there's so much I still don't know. I do work with many different types of people from different cultures, but there is so much I still don't know and open to learn.
You mentioned a lot of different programs and initiatives. Can you walk those through with me a little bit more about what those programs look like? You're mentioning a lot of social services.
Yes, so we do counseling. That's a huge part of our work. We do spiritual counseling. We do domestic violence support, system navigations whenever it's needed. If there's settlement supports, we do that. We do family mediation, youth counseling, premarital and marriage counseling, we do that. So whatever challenges families or individuals are facing, we do that type of work.
Well, it's incredibly important. Like, people are coming from all over the world. They're coming here, and then all of a sudden there's like all these different things happening here in Canada. It's like, how do you even navigate something when you've lived your whole life one way and all of a sudden you're like, oh, okay, well, things are completely different in this sense.
You do see that, but also there's strength. There's newcomers bring a lot of strength
Of
to our
course.
communities as well. And we always learn from that as well.
Of course, like it's a two-way street. You know, they're learning about Canada and the laws and things around here while we learn of newcomers coming in. You know, what is their perspective? What is their life experiences?
Yeah, it's important.
Tell me a little bit more about ISSA. What sort of conversations and things are happening with the community? What sort of things are you hearing from people in regards to your programming and services?
We do get good feedback from anybody that joins our programs, that attends our workshops. So in the past few weeks, we had our active bystander training, like you mentioned. We had another workshop about microaggressions. So when individuals face microaggressions, how do they respond? When we are committing it, what can we do to be more self-aware and to not commit those microaggressions? And then our active bystander training is focused on when you face hate crimes or Islamophobia. When you see it, when you see these incidents, how do you intervene? There was a lot of important skills that was taught, and we got good feedback.
Initiatives like that, the active bystander, I think is so important because, yeah, sometimes whether it's at just everyday life or if it's at a protest or gathering or something, sometimes things happen and you're caught off guard. You don't really know what to do, whether that's someone within the community or someone who's there, like myself, if I was attending those events. It's like, okay, what do you do when you hear those things? How are you supposed to react?
Exactly. Not only for ourselves, but when we see it happening to others, it's our responsibility to get involved. When I see my neighbor getting attacked, facing Islamophobia or discrimination, what do I do? How do I intervene? That's very important.
And I mean, as we're seeing statistically, Islamophobia is on the rise and tensions are incredibly high. And it's important to be prepared for those and to have the language and skills to walk through those encounters.
Definitely. We do feel that this is an issue that our community faces, and we do a lot of work around that. So depending on what the needs are, that's what we focus on as an organization.
How was engagement from the workshop? Like approximately how many people showed up the past weekend? What were some comments or things that people were like, oh, I never knew that before. This is really productive.
For myself taking part in it, what was really incredible was we had about 20 participants, so it was a smaller group. Just people sharing their stories and seeing commonalities on the types of incidents they see every day and building that network of support for each other. And how do we, when you come across that, how did you deal with it? And then someone else sharing, okay, I did this, it worked. I did this, it didn't work. So building that network within our community where people can share and feel like they're not alone.
What do you think was one core tool or knowledge that you feel like is going to be really helpful for yourself moving forward?
To think that we are one, like we as a community, we are one, not just as Muslims, but as people who live in Winnipeg, to look at each other as one community and not just the Muslim community or this community here. We are one, and we have to start working together.
It's all about that unity and coming together. It only strengthens a city and a community when everyone can treat each other like neighbors and friends.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think that's crucial.
You mentioned there's a lot of youth programming available as well. And I know that's one conversation we have with a lot of different cultural organizations and just like cultural groups is, sometimes it's a challenge to engage youth. What was it? The Pan-African Legacy is working right now getting youth involved and learning about their culture and language. So why is it important for ISSA to engage with younger generations?
I think as we see, the youth today are very passionate. They are a huge inspiration to the rest of society in the way that they advocate, they empower the rest of us. And it's important for us to see them and include them in everything that we do. And we do see them volunteering with us and coming to our programs and really holding us up as an organization. So I think it's important to see them, to hear them, and work with them.
Yeah, younger generations are incredibly important. Not only bringing in new ideas that can help revitalize an organization that might be finding stagnation or stuff like that, but just continuing to grow it and embrace, because there's nothing more exciting than when you have the opportunity for maybe a youth member that has been a little distant from the culture or language, and then they come in and they're excited to learn about it.
So yeah, they might not felt like they were included in other things, but I think sometimes we don't do a good job of hearing them because they might be of a younger age, or we might think that they're not capable of doing certain things, but it's important to include them as well, and put them in those positions of leadership when possible.
When we're looking at the conflict in Gaza right now, the protests, especially right now, really relevant to the United States campuses where people are, standing up and wanting their voices heard. It's really powerful to see these younger people wanting to get involved politically, even if it means getting arrested.
Yeah, and here in Winnipeg, I don't know if it's the same issue here, but there's other challenges that we face here that youth face, and we have to recognize it, and we have to support them, and that's what we do here at ISA.
Yeah, it's that collaborative messaging that you're talking about before. Like whether you are an elder in the community, you've got a lot of experience and wisdom, or you're a youth, you're active, you're passionate, you're ready to take life by the horns sort of thing. You can take those different avenues and those different life experiences to build something really unique and special.
Yes. So the recent workshops that we did, it was for youth, but we did have parents come. We did have Indigenous communities register, and we are open to that. So if a parent wants to come and learn about a certain topic because they have a younger child, that's totally okay. They could come with their child so they can learn together. I think like we're pretty open in that way. So if we are doing programs for youth, we do welcome others to come as well to learn from each other.
I do appreciate when you're mentioning like getting Indigenous communities involved as well. I think that's such an important and key component here in Manitoba and across Canada, is engaging and becoming one with the Indigenous community as well. As like the first peoples of these lands were coming in, there's a lot we can learn from them, and a lot in terms of moving forward as well, whether that is born here in Canada like myself, or immigrants coming in and learning about the experiences of Indigenous people in those steps of reconciliation.
Absolutely. We do value Indigenous voices, and in the work that we do try to reach out as much as we can and work together with Indigenous communities. That's something that we have been doing together, and we've done a lot of workshops with Indigenous women, and we have embraced some of the cultural practices. So we do try to include Indigenous voices as much as possible.
Yeah, that's fantastic to hear. It's so important. It's just that multiculturalism as a whole, like taking parts, whether that is like the Arabic community as a whole, being Muslim, and then taking those elements and sharing it with others, and then learning from others in turn.
Definitely. I think within even the Muslim community, it's very diverse. People all come from different places.
Oh, definitely.
And people don't realize that. And then just all the other different cultures within Winnipeg, we need to involve everybody.
Yeah, kind of touching on that note, I talked with, I can't remember her name off the top of my head, but a director who made a documentary called Arab Women Say What. So her and a group of friends cataloged their conversations during the pandemic, and they just went through a lot of those different things, like different beliefs, different standings on different topics. And it's like, yeah, this group of people, like, although they all speak Arabic, and some of them are Muslim. Not all of them were Muslim. Some were Christian, some were Jewish, some were, I can't remember the other ones. But it's like, in this group of 8 women, like just in the cultures and communities they represented was so diverse.
Yes. So myself, I'm a Muslim. I come from the Middle East, but I'm not Arab. So there is like different ethnicities within different countries and different languages, and there's so much that we might look at someone and like have our own biases and like our own perception of who they are. But once you get to know someone and then you realize, okay, it's not what I thought. So that's why it's important to really like try to meet different people, and like it really opens your eyes. A lot of people do assume sometimes that I'm Arab and might not even know who are Kurds, how is she even from the Middle East, or she's Muslim. Like there's so many things that we pass judgment on each other without knowing. So that's why I think it's always important, like I mentioned before, to like try to meet different people,
Yeah.
to have open conversations without judgment. And if someone does make a comment or something like that you're not comfortable with, you know how to address it, you know how to respond to those things.
It's so powerful. Like you can really put yourself in a box if you just think of everyone as a stereotype.
Mm-hmm.
You're never going to be able to embrace and really experience the amazing diversity out there. Well, oftentimes, like in terms of the Indigenous community, people think it's like Indigenous, it's one thing. It's like, yeah, there's an umbrella of Indigenous, but there's First Nations, Métis, Inuit, and even within those groups, there's so many different varieties. Like First Nations, like the what is it? Like Cree, Anishinaabe, Moan, and even under Cree, there's a wide like Mountains Cree, Woods
The
Cree,
languages.
Swampy Cree. It's so
Yes,
diverse out there.
exactly. And those are things I don't know. I might have not met so many Indigenous people where I know all the different languages and like cultural practices and things like that.
And I guess that's the cool thing about ISSA. You have the opportunity to not only share a little bit about yourselves, but you're the place where people can come as well.
Yes, absolutely.
Let's touch on a little bit of a more solemn note right now. The current conflict that's going on and the Islamophobia we're seeing. How can we as communities as a whole work together to combat these things? The conversation and debate right now on Israel-Palestine can be very volatile. Sometimes, how do we have these conversations without conflicts happening, whether that is just emotional conflict or further, as we're seeing in protests and things across the United States and Canada?
I think what's important is being open to learn, and we have to speak up for what's right, for justice, even if it's against ourselves. So I think in these type of situations, if you're facing Islamophobia, a lot of people just want justice. So it might be against your group or this group or that group, but that's what we should all strive for as communities. As far as that, like like I mentioned, is learning from each other is very important. So in a lot of conflicts, there are things that maybe I can't speak on. Maybe there's a lot of things I don't know, but being open to learn, and don't if you don't know something, ask questions, do your own research. It's very important.
It's really challenging. It's like, how do you approach this conversation in a constructive manner? Like you want to move forward, you want to find a solution to theirs, and sometimes it feels like it's just an endless circle of debate that happens sometimes.
Yeah, I think a lot of communities are going through a hard time, including the Muslim community. That's why organizations like ours exist. Hopefully, we could be a place that could build more collaborations and build more capacity to
Yeah, to be a
spread
bridge
knowledge.
between various communities in case
Exactly.
of, volatile situations like this where you're like, okay, this thing's happening. How can we have this conversation? How do we figure this out?
Exactly. Yeah.
What's next for ISSA? I know you're mentioning, you have a ton of ongoing programs and initiatives. Is there anything exciting or things that you're very passionate about that's coming up?
Okay. So if you go to our website, isacanada.com, you will see all of our upcoming events. So we have on May 12th, we have training, building resistance and responding to Islamophobia for community leaders, Muslim organizations, and imams. So if there's anybody that would like to join this training, they can call our office. We also have our 25th anniversary dinner gala on May 23rd. So you can go to our website, you get more information on that. We have our mental health impacts of discrimination 2-day conference for Muslim social workers, mental health professionals, providers, and practitioners to learn, share, and collaborate on the roadmap to healing. So all of that information is on our isacanada.com website.
Yeah, so a lot of exciting and important topics coming up. I know you mentioned the website, but is there other places that people can find out more about ISA Canada?
We do have an Instagram page and Facebook page. So we do have different social medias. You can also find information there.
Have any stories you'd like us to share or communities we should highlight? Leave a comment on our social media or reach out to us on our website. I'm Ryan Funk. This was You Talk, and have yourself a good one.